This film is very much needed because adult children of mentally ill parents are out there on their own. Basically, there's a lot of focus on the experience of their parent, but there's not enough focus and voice for them. Where is their voice? Where is this voice that needs to come out and say, I have gone through something. It was isolating, it was scary, and now I need to be heard about that. You have these children who were never taken care of, grow up into adulthood, and then they end up having to take care of the very person who did not take care of them. And it's filled, the relationship is filled with complex emotions by the adult children of mentally ill parents. And I've seen them struggle to advocate for their parents, and I've seen them struggle to advocate for themselves, for the right to their feelings, to the right to take a stand in their own lives and to take a stand for their parents. And it is quite an incredible journey to witness. It's very, very important to get this message out there and to make a film about this topic because it moves those now adult children of mentally ill patients into an arena where they can receive attention and support and really get the understanding that they need. Because there are support groups, there are associations out there to support adult children of mentally ill patients, but I don't think their voice has been really heard. There have been films out there about the child's experience, but to really hear and understand what it's like now from an adult perspective, looking back on how it was for those children growing up, I think is a vital, vital message to be heard. And it will elevate what needs to be done about this subject. Because what's happening is everyone's working separately. There's not a linked unit. There's not a team approach. There's often a team for the person who's mentally ill. And maybe the child then later as an adult seeks help and they get support. But there's not a conversation. There's not that important conversation, a whole system approach to this topic, and it's very much needed. The parents, the parent who's mentally ill is often stabilized by the children, but it doesn't work in reverse. The children do not benefit by simply being left, so to speak, with a mentally ill parent because it's good for the parent. That child needs to be told in a very clear, direct way what the situation is. It should not be coded. It should not be changed around. It should be identified. That child should be told clearly what's going on and also told clearly that this is not their responsibility and they will not be left on their own, that there are resources for them starting now, whether that's another adult in the family who's healthy and not mentally ill, or services or people outside of the family within the community that can support that child, whether it's in the school, whether it's in a spiritual community, a religious community. That child needs to know this is an unusual situation. You have a right to feel the way that you do, and here's the support for you. Because adult children of mentally ill parents who ultimately become patients develop such strong sense of responsibility. They become super achievers in many ways. They often are the ones who take care of their mentally ill parents. I'm not talking about a little child, going to work for their parents. I'm talking about having to compensate emotionally, having to take on and have their own feelings and needs pushed to the side while the focus goes toward that parent who's mentally ill. And it creates both an incredible strength, but it also can create that sense of isolation that I talked about, that it's hard to trust, it's hard to reach out. Very, very high functioning can handle a great many situations, But I think at times it can be very emotionally lonely. So it's not that the person needs to go for psychological help because they had a mentally ill parent and therefore they're destined to go down that path. It's mainly to say to that adult child, that child who's now an adult, you have gone through something extraordinary, extraordinary, and you've had to put up with an extraordinary situation. You need the support now to identify what your own needs are emotionally. And if you notice that there are things that are keeping you from having the kind of life that you want, not because there's mental illness, but because you've had to compensate for that mentally ill parent, meaning you had to put your needs aside, and now you may not know how to ask for support or to connect to other people the way that you want to, which is not an issue of mental illness, it's more of an issue of trust, then support groups can help.